In honor of Halloween, which is almost upon us, I wanted to talk about an album that I see nobody talking about, which is for good reason. I mean, take a look at the statistics. The Circus Contraption Band on Spotify has 15k monthly listeners, no public follower count, and a singular album to their name. On YouTube, their most popular song has 250k views, with wild disparities within the album. Some songs have 5k, 6k, some have like 20k, it's a bit of a mess. On Spotify, it's not much better, as their most streamed song has 2.5 times more plays than the next lowest, and it's just an exponential curve down from there. However, the Half-Wit's Descent is not the only album made by the folks of the Circus Contraption Band. All of their other music is released under the equally, if not more obscure, Circus Contraption. Now, this makes a lot of logical sense, just name-wise, but jumping Jehoshaphat, is it hard to find anything out about this group? They're so enigmatic. What little there is about them has been lost to time, is hidden within the depths of the Wayback Machine, or is on some obscure side of the internet that's hard to get to. Now, the reason for this discrepancy is actually rather fascinating. You see, Circus Contraption combined live music, circus performance, and a dark cabaret aesthetic to create their performance group. Now, this live music that they performed was oftentimes original compositions that they made, specifically for a show or just, like, in general. As the years went on, the music that they made was more specified, and the albums that they released, or EPs, were more show-specific. But the Half-Wit's Descent is special, in the sense that it wasn't made for any show or anything like that. It was made specifically so that the band could flex their skills, or in the words of their website, be set loose to wreak their own havoc. Now, with this description, it would seem like a progressive psychedelic rock album, like Dark Side of the Moon, would have nothing to do with an absurdist, dark cabaret, silly little album like the Half-Wit's Descent. But there is one key trait, one key factor that contains and binds these two albums together, and that is the conceptual tackling of societal ills. On the Circus Contraption website, the top of every page is plastered with the slogan, "A bracing curative for the afflictions of our time," a framework that both albums function within to varying degrees. The Dark Side of the Moon is a deeply nuanced album that countless people have picked to shreds every which way, with all of the lyrics analyzed just all over the place. But in general, the album takes a depressive existentialist / nihilistic approach to universally applicable issues, with its soaring blues and its remarkable lyricism and its songs that blend into each other. It touches on the intricacies of issues like war, time, death, money, and more, ultimately taking the stance that you are not alone in your struggles, and certainly not alone in the insurmountable odds that are stacked against you. While I don't necessarily 100% agree with this darker outlook on things, it can be said that this provided a bracing curative for the ailments of Pink Floyd's time. Much had gone well in terms of civil and women's rights, but with an ever-looming Cold War, the Vietnam War, seemingly uncontrollable political shifts, and stigmas around things like mental health and sexuality, it would have been so easy to feel disenfranchised. A disenfranchisement that was not only sympathized but enfranchised by the dark side of the moon. This darker tackling of universally applicable societal issues is in stark contrast to the Half-Wit's descent, an album that's more interested in an optimistic outlook on things, with more personal, specific problems facing our world. The album starts out with a bold statement in the form of "We're all mad." It harkens back to the nihilistic outlook of the Pink Floyd album, with lyrics like,
"The apocalypse is drawing near, we're all gonna die."
Although it's certainly more extreme in that regard. Lyrically, the song is intentionally contradictory. It bounces between the narrator talking in first person about his insanity,
"I fallen off the train again, I finally got insane,"
and him generalizing that to everyone else.
"We're all mad, a thimble full of sanity and all we're mad,"
suggesting that we pick our poison, because if not, the world is going to end soon, and everything's going to go to shit.
Arsenic or Everclear, pick your poison fast, my dear. The apocalypse is drawing near, we're all gonna die.
Only is it in the final verse that any attempt to save face and generalize more is made.
Insectavora insanity, pray for us on bended knee. Let's join hands and breathe the fun again.
This helps outline the fundamental flaw with this sort of outlook on life, which leads to its refutation in the final track of this album. Additionally, the frantic off-kilter instrumentation with stuff like brush drums, upright bass, piano, vocals, clarinet, muted trumpet, and these weird, either screamy vocals or more muted trumpet, combine with this really loose sense of time, like within the chorus or within the verses, to really paint you a picture of the insanity. The next 11 tracks serve as a justification for this viewpoint, with each track symbolizing some sort of issue that plagues the world. I Told You Once centers on marital abuse, painting the picture of an egocentric man whose abuse leads to the suicide of his wife, despite his efforts to quote-unquote warn her. This is clearly evident with lyrics like,
"One time begat twice, then third time's a charm, disregarded all obvious signs of alarm. Soul hollow and vacant, devoid of all light, your epitaph written on our wedding night."
and
Thinking of me, thinking of me, always thinking of me, just me.
Raining Pianos is about depression and the dismissive attitudes we can sometimes have towards mental health issues, which is helpfully demonstrated by the hyperbolization of the phrase, "It's raining cats and dogs." Colorful lyrics like,
So show me all your teeth and hold your head up high, 'cause things could always be a lot worse.
and
Should I run away or should I stand real still till one of them hits me in the head?
clearly demonstrate this point. 23 Beers is explicitly about alcohol, the debilitating kind, and alcoholic hallucinosis with absurdist imagery like...
The horses can't go forward if they're behind the cart. The web a spider spins is a work of art.
and blatant references to alcohol like...
Swift to the seawall, 3 sheets to the wind, 23 beers and a bottle of gin.
Squift to the seawall isn't a pre-existing phrase like 3 sheets to the wind is, but squift is a prohibition term for being drunk, and a seawall is a device to keep the sea from encroaching or eroding land. Put together, the phrase implies that you are drunk to the absolute limit. This is one of the many things I love about this album. The writer's penchant to create new, unique, interesting phrases. It's really satisfying to see as someone who loves English. Goodbye Honky Town aims right for conservatives and their bigotry, specifically referring to the southern United States. There's an allusion to the Triple K'ers in the form of...
Your head's in a hood which is bleached white and pointed, and I see the hate in your eye holes.
Reference to rampant sexism with...
You treat your women like dogs. They're beaten and starved for love.
And copious mentions of the narrator's intentions to haunt these vile people in their dreams.
Goodbye, Honky Town. I'll see you in your nightmares.
One might also say that a secondary theme of this song is intense hatred or anger, which is a fair assumption or analysis to make. On a smaller note, I absolutely adore the emphasized chromaticism on the word hatchet.
I'll be the one with the hatchet grinning.
I was never big on this song, and I'm still not the biggest fan of it, but that note brings such beautiful word painting. It's chef's kiss. Shneykoyl or Shneykoyl, however the hell you pronounce it, the only true instrumental on the album, has completely stumped me for the most part. I exhaustingly deliberated and researched what the song could be representing. I tried looking the song name up, translating it, translating sections of it, translating different bits in different languages, but alas, very little was found. The only lead I got was it being close to a translation of snail coil in Ukrainian, but again, that's very tentative. A friend of mine suggested that it could be Yiddish, so there might be something there, but again, I'm not quite sure. Hi, post-production Sammy here. I just wanted to mention something real quick. So, Shneykoyl could actually be an obfuscation of the term snake oil, which, refers to snake oil salesman, which could then make the song about, fraudulent business practices, corruption under capitalism, that sort of thing. And if you listen to the song, it does sound kind of slippery, kind of slimy. Like the clarinet's going like... and it's like just going all over the place. Just thought I'd mention that. Spook-O-Rama explicitly embodies the fear of death and what other things you may have to fear in the afterlife. There's no one exact moment of this happening. It permeates the entirety of the song, so I'll just play some pertinent lyrics for you.
Reserve the spot at the top of the heap with the patience of Job. We've been waiting for you. You'll never guess what pleasures await as you pass your days in the lake of fire. Pray to the heavens, you're the easygoing sort. The tortures that await you are quite sublime.
Insectavora represents the dangers of lust. The dangers of a self-sabotaging love that ignores all obvious signs of disaster in the pursuit of sexual desires. The narrator's lust is clearly demonstrated by
Step right up and get yourself a candy. If you didn't know her, you wouldn't understand her.
and
One thing I could say for these say, she's hotter than a funeral pie.
this leads to him underplaying certain toxic elements within her, like her gold digger tendencies,
I'll devour my Stetson if she doesn't praise your dander. She'll get into your wallet one way or another.
and her unbridled rage.
If she had her wicked way, she'd set the house on fire. So stab her right up and get yourself a suntan.
It's also implied that the girl is stringing the narrator along.
Don't tell them what you could have seen, you tell them what you saw, man.
Additionally, the title stems from the Latin words insectum, or insect, and vore, to eat, which is thematically appropriate as the very nice man, presumably, is being eaten alive, both metaphorically and perhaps physically, by the insect lady. Pink Elephants on Parade is quite the meta moment for this album, asking questions about necessity and function. On the surface, the song is a fairly faithful cover of the 1941 Dumbo song by the same name. When viewed in context, the scene and thus the song is about alcoholic hallucinosis brought on by Dumbo drinking spiked tap water, which clashes with 23 beers. People theorize the importance of this scene in the movie, with some saying it serves no real purpose, others saying that it's simply a song to move the plot along, and others saying it's a moment of levity from the drab circumstances. Imposing this on the cover reveals that any, or perhaps all or none, of these purposes could be what the song's about, making it a bit of a Schrödinger song. It's all or none, perhaps some. Do songs even have to have a purpose? This song seems to be having an identity crisis at its core, which is, well, in my mind, what the song is truly getting at. Queen of the Bees focuses on the effects of climate change through the lens of a weird bee colony. The lyrics paint a causal picture between the destruction of the environment,
The greedheads are killing the earth. Can anyone stop them? Harness around her neck. The mother is weeping. We all tried to save her, and now it's too late.
and the subsequent eradication of the colony. As an aside, there's this little middle section to the song that I don't quite think is important to the analysis. It seems to be about Trojan horse political issues that distract from more important topics, but it's just so hard to wrap my head around. Just take a listen. I'm not quite sure if I even have the right lyrics.
The bugs are under my skin again. The bugs are under my skin. On the outside they look like veins, but they really are bug tunnels.
RHP is a bit of an oddball, as I can see two equally as valid interpretations for this song. One being about sex trafficking and the other being about prostitution. You can read the male vocals, the line,
My succulent oyster is winking at you,
and the context that these middle songs exist within to arrive at a reading that implies sex trafficking. Oyster in this reading refers to someone who is closed-mouthed or uncommunicative. And under this lens, the rest of the lyrics fall into place. Lines like,
you wanna see my hoo-hoo, you gotta pay up.
And
I got a red hot pussy Brazil
seem to come from a possessive point of view. However, if you disregard the masculine voice as just an oddity of the music and view oyster as a slang term for vagina, then prostitution fits in just as well, if not better. The first person fits in just as well, and lines like,
I got a reservation, I'll meet you in hell,
make a little bit more sense, although they're still equally as valid in both contexts. Circle Circle ... is the penultimate song of this album, and gee willikers, was this one a doozy to analyze. The title of this pseudo-instrumental is borrowed from the Cooties game, an American game wherein kids will immunize each other against the cooties by saying, Circle Circle ... now you have your cooties shot, while drawing little circles and dots on their arms. Although hard to hear, these lyrics are very present in the song itself. Cooties as an idea originated in the claustrophobic trenches of World War I as a term for lice, which ran heavily rampant within the horrible conditions. It came back with the soldiers and had a bit of a moment within the zeitgeist. A repopularization happened of the word cooties in the early 1950s when American soldiers were coming back from the South Pacific. This happened to coincide with the creation of the Cooties game and the polio epidemic. Modern Cooties has morphed into an entirely different beast, but Cooties as a concept, at least originally, was about disease and plague, sort of akin to Ring Around the Rosie, which was about the bubonic plague. It's this deeper level of infection and disease and despair that this song centers on. Additionally, the song also serves as a bit of a short interlude from the middle to the end of the album, serving as a bit of a storm before the calm, if you will. And now we reach the main attraction, the culmination of what this entire album has been building towards. Good to know ya. We've been listening to an entire album of justifications for a nihilistic perspective. We've been beaten over the head time and time and time again about how the world is irreparably fucked and how we should all just give up and die. And yet, through all of this, the album still finds some time for levity, some time for positivity. This is embodied most in the chorus of the song.
It's been good to know ya. The time has come for us to say goodbye. Put on your mask and don your feather boa. Well, sing and dance until the end of time.
Which sounds like a direct response to the ideas put forth in We're All Mad. Even though the album has already been very dark and depressing, lyrics like,
Sitting here waiting for the bombs to fall. Looks like we're gonna see the end after all.
and
My head is in the toilet and I'm gonna drown. Dig a deep hole out underneath the ground.
still put in the necessary legwork to independently establish the song's dark and brooding atmosphere. There are other moments of lyrical levity, mainly in the couplets right before the choruses.
Even though the boat was sinking fast, the band kept right on playing. Maybe they'll be kind enough to drop us some food before the last curtain call. Even though the crowd was out of control, the fat lady took our dive.
Funnily enough, there's even a direct jab at the doomer mentality this song refutes, when the main singer goes,
Isn't it odd to pray to your gods to save you from yourself somehow?
which references this line from We're All Mad.
Sanctify insanity, pray for us on bended knee. Let's join hands and breathe the funk out.
Instrumentation and musical feel, while important to every song on this album, is most notable here. Everything about this song screams simplicity and togetherness, with the soft ukulele piano intro, the very proper major feel for the first time, the deceptively simple instrumentation, and the very soft togetherness of the vocals. For the instrumentation in particular, it has a ukulele and piano, which go nicely in the background. Then, of course, there's your acoustic bass, your drums, and your vocals. And then there's also a clarinet which pops in and out, mainly in the chorus. And then there's this blasting brass for the big finale, the big final hurrah. Everything about the composition stands in stark contrast to the sad, off-kilter, down, crazy feel of We're All Mad. All of this combines into a powerful statement about standing up in the face of adversity, about never giving up, even when the odds seem ever stacked against you, even when your face is down in the mud. And I think it's a very powerful message. A message we can stand to hear a lot more often. The ending to Dark Side of the Moon is a fantastic song and such an amazing moment. But to me, this message of hopefulness brought by Good to Know You will always hit harder than the message of Eclipse ever could. There's another aspect to this song's finality that really tugs at my heartstrings, and that has to do with the band itself. Circus Contraption released one more album after their dissolution in July 2009. It was aptly named The Show to End All Shows, and the Half-Wit's descent served as There's a bit of a curtain call for that. And also, the song Good to Know You is reprised as the final song of the album. You can feel the bittersweet air of this song, the knowledge of impending doom and financial troubles. It stings even more to know that 3 years later, the two key members, Joe Albanese and Drew Karakidas, would be killed in the Seattle Cafe Racer Massacre by a mentally ill man who killed himself. The sad irony of it all is quite palpable. Now, you might think that my analysis is a bit of a stretch, and at certain points I'd definitely be inclined to agree. Pink Elephants on Parade was definitely something to try and figure out. Circle Circle Dot Dot was really interesting to look into, but also I'm not quite sure of its validity, and Shneykoyl doesn't even seem to fit anywhere remotely into my perspective on this album. Nevertheless, I have to remind you that these people were a circus troupe who created thematic and live shows for a decade. It's highly likely that the same sort of creative philosophy that permeated their other works found their way into this album, and especially with a slogan like a bracing curative for the afflictions of our time. Another point in my favor is that of the title. The title of the Half-Wit's descent succinctly and perfectly encapsulates what I've been saying about the album, with the Half-Wit being the narrator in We're All Mad, and his descent being the songs in the middle portion of the album. As such, it may also be fair to infer that the final track is a bit of a redemption song, that the man has finally come to his senses after being despondent for so long. Whatever the case may be, I hope you've found a brand new appreciation for this album, just as I have. I mean, I already loved the damn thing, but taking a deep dive into all the nooks and crannies and references and whatnot, it breathes new life for your appreciation of an album or a piece of art. It's truly wondrous. I really wish I could have talked about the musicality of all the songs more, like the instrumentation, how they feel, how everything works and whatnot, but this is already an 8.5-page script. I really don't need to add another 4 to that when I'm already trying to get this video out by Halloween, so that's fun. This album deserves way more love and attention than I could ever give it. It deserves way more love and attention than it already gets. I mean, just look at the streaming numbers. For what I think is an absolute wondrous masterclass of an album, the numbers are pitiful. It may not have songs that directly flow into each other, like Dark Side of the Moon, but dangnammit, I'd argue it's conceptually better. What with its uplifting, warm message, as compared to the Dark Side of the Moon's very drab, nihilistic, not very positive outlook on things. I already love this album. I would comfortably give it a 10 out of 10. But after doing this deep dive, I may even go so far as to say that it's a masterpiece, which I know is a bit of a bold statement to make. Of course, you can disagree with me all you like. In fact, I encourage it. I want to hear what everyone else has to say about this album, what everyone else thinks. I want there to be more attention to it. I want people to talk about it more. That's why I made this video, to share the love and passion and discourse for this album, because I think it deserves it. Now, right here would be about where I typically end the video. Very nice, closed, cozy, all those indicators, but something very interesting happened to me during my research. and I want to share a bit of the fruits of that with you. Okay, so hi.
Hi. Is it working?
Yes, I got everything that I need to function. Okay, so why don't we just start off with a little bit about yourself and like how you got into the music and performing and like what led you to circus contraption.
Well, I had just graduated from college with a music degree. I'm a, lifelong musician, and had moved to Seattle to kind of start my post-college life, and immediately started looking at all of the musicians wanted ads in the paper, and there was an ad that sounded pretty interesting, so I auditioned and got in.
Oh hell yeah! Where'd you go to music school?
I did my undergrad at Western Washington University and then graduate school at Cal State LA.
Oh nice. Like just like a bachelor's or like a. So I'm not fully familiarized with the college university terms.
Yeah, a bachelor's is what you do first, and then if you want to stay in school longer, you move on from there.
Yeah. Sweet. All right. So also I wanted to ask if this was like a little like silly or anything, if like anyone has ever like asked or gone looking around or researching.
Gosh, I don't know. A lot of people have used our music for various things. There's been like mashups and stuff like that, and so every now and then there's like a random email just from someone in those circumstances. I don't know about anyone doing like a research interview kind of thing, but I'm only one in many in the group, and I have no idea what contacts other people have had. So yeah, I personally haven't.
All right. Yeah, that's fair. Uh, sorry. Okay, so what was just like sort of the daily function, I guess, or operation of the group, like like how often did you meet or like where, like just what happened, that sort of thing.
And just why FYI, I probably only have about 15 or 20 minutes to talk with you. I hope that's okay. I well, things really changed because the group grew over, I was with them for 10 years. So, at the beginning it was pretty scrappy, and by the end we had a managing director and we were a functioning nonprofit and a big space. So, I guess it depends on where in that journey you're talking about, but generally throughout, it was such a big commitment that it kind of took first priority in everybody's lives. So people put off things like careers and children and buying houses and like that, and really prioritized the group, which is part of what made it really effective, because everybody was all in. And we had rehearsals, I think 3 times a week. The band would rehearse separately, and then it would just sort of depend, because the band sort of had a life of its own as a gigging, like we do gigs that were just musical as far as playing in bars and whatnot, but then we were also the band for the circus, which is a full theatrical production. So rehearsals would really depend on what phase in the development and what we were rehearsing for. Once we were in like full on theater show mode, we would rehearse every day basically, because that was a big, those are big shows.
Yeah, I looked through I looked through the catalog of shows on the website. It was sort of interesting to see the development from like 99 and like 2000s, and then
Yeah.
as the years went on, like the gaps got like longer. I because I presume you all put like more work and effort and coordination into everything.
Exactly. As our ambitions grew, the shows got bigger and bigger and bigger, and they would take really like a year to develop and make all the sets and the process, music all new. And so all of that development would go into a show, and then we would run it for 2 or 3 years. So our process got longer and longer as the shows got bigger and bigger. Yeah.
Neat. So in general, like these shows, what were they like? Like, what was sort of vibe or experience? Like, I mean,
As
it's
far,
like two different things from an audience and performance perspective, but like, in your mind,
as far as like the full circus show, um, well, we really mostly operated in fairly non-traditional spaces. Circus arts require just certain,
yeah, certain like large
technical
spaces
things
and
that aren't, yeah. And but also just our vibe was a little sort of alternative, artsy,
yeah.
and so we didn't really belong in a proper theater setting. Um, we started out, we were in an old military, decommissioned military base. That was our first base. Was Seattle has a really cool park that is enormous with all these giant buildings that used to be airplane hangars. So that was where we started out. And then eventually we moved to some excess space in the back of Theo's chocolate factory. And we converted like just empty warehouse space to be a theater circus space. But both of those spaces, just the vibe is, it's like warehousey. One of them was brick, and the other one is all this exposed like ductwork and piping, and then we would, make the seating, make the stage, and everything. And the we that project, just it was sort of a magical alchemy of things that really hit some sort of flow with people, and we always had good audiences. Like, that group never struggled to find an audience, and so we were able to run lots of shows for long, like we would run shows for months and months and months, and the audience was always there for us. So it's just always fun. It's fun to be part of a successful project where everybody's psyched to see it and you're putting on a good show. It's just that whole vibe. But we had popcorn, so it smells like popcorn in there, and you can get beer. We had various beer sponsorships, and the seating is not the coziest. It's probably like bleachers and pillows, or
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that was quite nice to hear. I mean, even like 10 years later or whatever. I mean, yeah, like I mean, or like
It lives
14,
on. Yeah, it's true.
Still lives on,
Yeah.
even if in the hearts of very few.
Well, we still sell records, which is crazy. And every now and then I'll have somebody be like, "You'd never believe I'm in a coffee shop in Portugal, and Circus Contraption is playing on the on the house music." So
Wait,
um
wait,
yeah, my understanding is that there's kind of been a little bit more of a afterlife in Europe. And then also just like on YouTube, if you Google, there's like so many people that have
yeah.
used music for different
Like the
things.
album on YouTube and then like the little remixes or whatever.
Yeah, it's neat.
You said you still have people buying records? Like, huh? Because I tried getting myself a copy of the Half-Wit's Descent, but CD Baby stopped selling CDs.
Oh
Like,
yeah, you'd have to get it digitally now. Is it not available?
Well, it is
Avail-
available digitally, but like I'd want the physical copy because I'm just a
Oh,
collector
well,
like that.
I got a box of them over here. Yeah, I mean, we're still sitting on boxes of them. So, but yeah, and now it's just digital sales. Nobody buys hard copies of anything anymore.
If you're so generous, may I have a few?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You have to send me your address, and I'll see if I can make it happen.
Yes. So I like collecting physical media. I have a little shelf of vinyl records in the background over there. I like collecting. So, what were some of your like favorite moments with your time with the troupe and band?
Well, we did do a tour in Portugal. That was pretty awesome. One of my favorite times was when we were on tour I think we were in California, and we had a night off, and we took our tour bus to the drive-in movie theater, and we parked it sideways in the way back and all climbed up on the roof and watched a movie at the drive-in. That was pretty silly and fun.
Oh,
We always had an amazing time at Big Sur. There's the Henry Miller Memorial Library is one of our favorite spots when we were touring. Big Sur is amazing. Just the hospitality there, wonderful folks. I mean, there's just so many. We did so many wild and wacky gigs, and we toured all summer for a lot of years. I'm really grateful to the project as far as that was really, I'd been to New York several times, but that project set up in a theater on the Lower East Side, and we ran for 6 weeks or something like that. So we really got to like live there and kind of soak up being in New York. So that was really great to connect with that city. We did the same thing in San Francisco. So just, getting to see places and touring is so fun. Such a great way to see the world and to connect with other artists. It's just,
yeah, of course.
I feel like the
Building your
web,
network.
yeah,
Not
web of
only
artists.
people, but experiences and.
Yeah, yeah.
I can't imagine it was easy to tour in Portugal, though.
Well, that was actually pretty great because it was like a government like arts commission kind of thing, and they just set the whole thing up for us. It's like a track that lots of different arts groups go to these 9 towns, and they set it all up for you, and they put you up in hotels. So it's actually kind of nice because it's just like a totally predetermined thing.
Oh, hell yeah. Were there any like language barrier problems or anything?
Nope, they assigned us a translator too. I mean, they really got it figured out.
Oh, damn. That's quite impressive.
Yeah, they gave us drivers and interpreters, and yeah, and they treat you right.
All right. So, we'll move on to perhaps some of the more music questions. So on the website, there's the top of every page has that slogan. It's like a bracing curative for the afflictions of our time. Is that? Yeah. Did you feel that was like the goal of the music? Or was that very emblematic?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a pretty great byline or tagline rather. And I think it fit us pretty well. We were really doing something that felt like it's part of the sort of counterculture, or we weren't confined by concerns about language or nudity or whatever, so we could do whatever we wanted, which is amazing. And we really try to always be entertaining. Like that seems very quite obvious, but it's like a fast-paced, good,
Okay,
show.
it's like a cabaret show, or like the same sort of, and like being entertaining, but also about something,
Yeah, yeah,
whether
Just-
explicitly or implicitly.
right. Yeah, I mean, sometimes the most alternative thing about it is that there's people willing to devote their lives to art. Just showing people that it's possible to do something different with your life.
Certainly, certainly a bit inspiring for me as
Oh,
a as,
good.
as a, as a
That's
music
nice.
student.
Yeah, what you said you're in Vancouver.
Yeah.
Where are you going to school?
I go to school just at Douglas College. Simple. It's not too bad, but I'm really valuing the education, and I'm quite enjoying it too.
Good.
Like it was. It took me a while to realize my passion for music, but it's always sort of been there. Even as a kid, when I would like try and plunk away at the piano, try and
Mm-hmm.
make something, having no clue what the hell I was doing.
Yeah, right. Great.
Yeah. So, so
I think you get 2 more questions. Is that all right?
two more. Oh man, I have so many more. What do you have to do after this?
I have to go get somebody offered up their drum cases, which I really need drum cases, and they're free, and I gotta snatch them.
Okay. Um. I'll ask two more in person, and then is it fine if I ask the rest of what I wanted over text?
Sure.
Okay. So my real burning sort of questions are about the album itself, the Half-Wit's Descent. So,
Okay.
um, what was the idea, and sort of like the, I guess, methodology for its creation? What is like, did because like on the website it said like that the band was let loose to wreak its own havoc, but like I, at least to me, I got the feeling that, I mean, it certainly felt like a collection of songs, but there was also some underlying connection between all of them, that there was some sort of, you know, story or message.
Um, I'm sorry to say that I don't actually even remember what songs are on there, but in general, we were doing like an album per show. So each big show, we would record the music from that show. And Half-Wit's Descent was the exception to that. So
Yeah.
that one was a collection of all of the like random songs that the band had from gigging in other context, or things that didn't ever fit into a show or whatever. And it was like we were just kind of like piling these things up, and we're like, oh, we should just make a record that doesn't, that's just band songs. So that's really what it was. And no, there wasn't any particular story. It was just like, what songs do we have that we haven't recorded yet?
That's interesting, because to me the way that I sort of read it is like, because every song, basically every song except for the first and the last one, to me they seem like they highlight some sort of specific issue or like societal problem or something, with the lyrics and the tone and the instrumentation. And then the first and last song, "We're All Mad," and "Good to Know You," they like they're like counters to each other. The first one's this sort of pessimistic, sort of give up on life song, and then the last one is very sort of positive. You know, things may like seem bad, but you know, we still push through it, give it our all. It's
So wait, you're saying that good to know ya is the positive one, or good to know ya is the we're all
good to
going?
know you. The last one's the positive one.
No, it's not at all. If you listen to the lyrics, it's saying, I mean, it's saying it's been good to know ya. Like this is the end of the world, is what that song is. Like
I know it's no, I know that it's the world is ending, but it's
Yeah.
been good to know you, and
Yes.
the lyrics still, at least to me, they portray some sort of like effort, some what is it? What's the word I'm looking for? Some pauses, some like chin uppery, almost.
I'm gonna use that. I love that. So well, I just pulled up the song list on this. I'm looking at it, and I can tell you that, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
13.
8 of the songs on the track of 8 of the tracks on this record were all written by the same guy, and Schmitzy the Clod, and he basically only writes about 2 things. I mean, he introduces almost every song with, "This is a happy song about the end of the world." He had a very clear and particular sort of vision and mission and message in life that was always, he was a real lover. He really loved people. He would tell you he loved you all the time, and loved his friends, like loved community, and thought that the rest of everything going on as far as bureaucracy and all the hoops people jump through was total bullshit, and leading us to our inevitable demise. So there's always elements of both of those things in his songs. And yeah, and he wrote both of those songs, and so many others that are kind of all on the same vibe, like, we're going down, this ship is sinking, but man, I love you all. And that's really,
That's a sweet message.
he's a real sweet guy.
Yeah. Okay. The one last question. This is probably the other burning one. Okay. Does Shneykoyl, like, the title mean anything? Was that just made up or like amalgamated together?
Yeah, that was just made up. I mean, the guy that wrote it, that was a clarinet player. He's a really virtuosic clarinet player, and he was tasked with writing a song that would show him off, basically. And that one, it's funny because I look at the song list and I'm like, huh, that's interesting, because I think that one was in a show, and Good to Know You was also in a show. So anyway, it's all a little bit mixed up, but yeah, he wrote that, and that's the song that's the title he gave it. And I don't think there's much more to it than that.
Just wanted to be silly.
Yeah, he just liked the title.
Yeah. Sometimes there just isn't meaning to anything.
Yeah, right.
All right, well, thank you for your time. And,
Yeah, you're welcome. I appreciate your interest. It's really sweet.
Yeah, and I appreciate you humoring me with my questions. So,
Yeah, no, curiosity. And I mean, I applaud you for pursuing your interests in such a way. I'm sure it's going to open a lot of doors for you. It's great.
well, I thank you. No, I hope I hope you get those drum cases
Me
covered.
too. I know they're normally really expensive. So
All right, you have a very nice Saturday.
thank
And
you.
I'll talk with you more later.
Okay, sounds good. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you. Bye. So apparently it wasn't supposed to mean anything. But you know, in my heart, I still feel like it does. It does mean something. I don't know, perhaps there could have been something a little sneakily done, a little nefariously put in there to make it all seem like it's connected. Or perhaps, well, death of the author, the classic, both in a metaphorical sense and also a unfortunately very literal sense. Yeah. Nevertheless, I hope you enjoyed watching. Well, if you're here, you probably enjoyed the video. Why don't you smack that subscribe button? Frickin' slam dunk on that like button, if you want, though. Have a great day. Stay curious out there. Sammy, out.